Chairperson Keepers here. Vice Chairman Thino.
Here.
Alder Stevens.
Here.
Lieutenant Soviak.
Here.
Commissioner Flukie.
Here.
Commissioner Huntowski.
Here.
Okay. Let's move on to approval.
Patrick.
Oh, that's right. And Commissioner Sorelli?
He's not appeared.
I don't see him. Commissioner Sorelli? Sorrell? Nope.
No,
Did you hear from him, Dave, or?
No.
No, okay, all
he
right.
wasn't here last
Absent then. Okay, let's move on to approve the agenda of the Monday, November 15, 2021 TBPC Commission meeting. We're going to move the agenda around a little bit to accommodate. Dan, you want to make a motion to?
I would move the agenda with placing item 4 after item 1. Second.
Okay, motion been made, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. D, approval of minutes, approval of the Monday, October 18, 2021 TBPC Commission meeting.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made, and second. Motion been made, second, all in favor?
Oh.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We just lost
Sorry.
him.
You got them.
I got him. Can you hear me still? I don't know if they can.
Are you the host?
I am not the host,
No,
but
that
can you make
was-
me the host?
That was the host.
That's not good.
We got so close now.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's be under control. Would it be fine if I turn my audio on now and we continue the meeting? I have, unless they're probably not gonna be able to.
Is
hear
this
it, but-
recording it, or are you recording it back there?
We're
We're
recording
recording
back
here,
here.
camera.
Okay,
Is it gonna lag due to that? Or like the echo?
we'll figure it out.
Okay,
All right, let me,
I don't know.
I'll join with audio. Can everybody hear me?
Can the alders hear Dave, who's virtual?
Where's my volume?
Must not.
I don't think so. Oh, wait, let me unmute me now. Testing, can anybody hear me? Okay. Yeah,
Your
well,
sound's on. Right
Where?
there.
oh, right here, very close. All right. I think we should be able to continue this way until we get the primary Zoom computer rebooted. As long as the meeting is maintained, I would think.
Okay, I'll take your word. Let's move to item 1, consideration with possible action on the request by Alder Stevens to review and/or create bylaws for the Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission. Do you want to have the attorney speak, or, I know she's on,
I would say the first thing is has everyone read the proposed
okay?
draft?
Mhm.
That's been reviewed by legal? and-
Yep.
Which I would think, do we have any questions? Because she's primarily here for questions.
Questions,
She and I
okay.
actually went through this quite detailed,
All right.
so, and her time is limited.
The only thing I had was,
Alder Dorf.
do we want to, on allowing interested parties to speak, the bottom
I can't
item?
hear her.
Will we allow the floor to open, Dave? Limit, how much time we're gonna let people talk?
This?
Oh, to limit the time.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea.
I think that would be your decision on your time
Check.
frame.
Time frame. Well, we've talked at previous meetings.
I can hear you now, yes.
3 to 5 minutes
Okay.
for,
It's normally 3 minutes.
or 3 minutes. I just wonder if we want to include that in the bylaws, so it's, we've got it on paper.
So it says if
That would
y'all
be
are
good.
appointed to service.
That would be the only thing I
commissioners absent
could
from
think
any
of that.
commission, meaning
I
another
wanna
voter,
do.
et cetera, is voting member. Now, on all of the other commissions, including RDA that I am on.
Oh, we're not
your
talking
alder
about one
cannot
number 4.
fill in, because if you're not appointed to that commission, my understanding is you can't fill in. Is this different, Attorney Mather, because there are bylaws making it different? Mather's muted.
Yeah, unmute.
I am, sorry, I'm rereading
Because of the technical difficulties, could we hold this until January?
It's come up at, many times over the 6 years I've been an elder, this question, and it's always been, no, you can't. If you're not appointed to the commission, you can't be on it. But maybe this is different, it's bylaws, I don't know.
I honestly don't know the answer to you off the top of my head, and I don't want to speculate without looking into it a little bit more, and I don't have the resources to do that fully right now. I'm not in my office. In general, because it would have to be in accordance with council procedures. That last clause, that was what why I thought that it was acceptable. But I do think that there should be looking into it further before I give you a definite response.
Okay, thank you.
What was her question, Dave?
Before we put on there, 'cause I don't have a question.
I'm going to need to rephrase the question and answer, so correct me if I'm wrong, Alder. But from what I heard was that she is questioning item 4 under composition officers and vacancies, which is in regards to if there's an absent alder from this commission, that another alder may substitute as a voting member. Attorney Mather responded she was not sure if that was compliant with municipal code
We've done
and is going to review it.
that before, right?
We have, yes, historically, we have done that
Right.
before.
Okay.
And this was one of the questions this was one of the comments that were brought up. If an alder wasn't here, could they appoint another alder? That's why the bylaws started, so we could get clarification on that.
Correct. Yeah,
So in case if I wasn't here, then another alder could sit in.
Right. I'm not going to speak as an attorney because I'm not an attorney. I'm an engineer. All I do is I know the municipal code from what I've read of it, and you have the ability to modify special procedures for the meeting. So whether or not that modification is inclusive of that, I don't know.
So we need to get a legal opinion then, is that what?
It appears as though Lindsay's going to get back to
Okay, all
the
right.
commission, so I would say, if there's other questions, obviously, we should talk about them, but obviously, we have a reason here to already postpone this item.
Yeah, well, the other thing I was gonna point out, I think interested parties, we should try to limit item 4, meetings and public participation. We've said that before, Dave, you and I, and limited to 3 minutes to 5 minutes, somewhere in that time frame, so we can say, hey, that's what our bylaws say. That's the only thing I would throw in there for what I read through it.
Okay?
Now, that could be easily added after the second line, public to speak, and then just put up to 3 minutes.
Which item
Per
would you
the
add that
discretion
under?
of the chair.
That's 4 under meetings of public participation.
Oh, sure.
Those of us out in TV land can't really hear what's saying, so maybe could they come over to your speaker or your microphone and talk? We can't hear what's going on.
Sure. I believe we're just moments away from the other computer booting back up. The host computer ended up shutting down on us. So it's in the process of rebooting, and Mike Ronick's here to help us. So I appreciate your patience, everybody. We didn't expect this.
Can you repeat what the request was, please, Dave?
Well, we talked about your item, Lindsay, and then our chair had made a recommendation or a suggestion that's been discussed in the past about limiting speakers in the gallery to 3 minutes.
That's certainly within the commission's right to do, as you can establish your own procedures. In general, that's left as kind of an open-ended requirement, so that in some cases, if you feel like it's more appropriate to give them longer or shorter amounts of time, you can do that at each meeting and not be kind of hindered by what's written, but that's entirely up to the commission.
I'd like to include that then. 3 or 5 minutes, I don't know what.
3 is plenty.
3 is plenty, okay.
Yeah.
I think we need to include that then,
Mhm.
would be my suggestion.
Is there any other modifications or additions?
I don't see anything else myself, or that I would do differently. You guys did a nice job on it. Thanks, Craig and Dan.
So, do we need a motion to
Postpone.
postpone this to the next meeting?
I believe that would be the appropriate motion, seeing how Attorney Mather has already stated she needed to follow up on one item.
Okay, let's move this forward. I would move that we hold over item 1 until the next meeting of the commission.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Do we want to move the microphone for Alder Dorf? Did I hear she can't hear what we're saying, or are we?
It's this
It's not just
microphone.
me. I mean, it's not just
It's,
Right, right.
Okay.
Just so everyone is clear, what's going on is the host computer went down and there's a room mic that was picking up everybody. Because that shut down, I had to take over as host, but we only have my microphone and my laptop, therefore you can barely hear everybody else. And IT is actively trying to solve the problem right now. So again, we appreciate your patience.
I have one point to make, Richard, may I answer there? I'm gonna have to leave for another meeting. The state could know it's not my point. I have to leave, so. Thank you, I gotta go.
Do we want to go to Alder Dorf's?
Yeah, it's not looking like it's gonna happen immediately, so.
Do you
I
want
think
to
we're
get
gonna
all of
go
us
to
a
the next
little
item.
closer?
I'm going to have to
Are we
probably,
getting closer? Is that what you?
we're getting very close here, just one moment.
Too crazy. I mean, I think since
I'm
you're
wondering if
commission,
maybe,
we have meetings, we get people to
While
show
we're
up
waiting
from
for
time to
this,
time.
we can maybe get some information on potential gallery speakers, so I'm presuming we have
Just
two of them here,
Pretty liberal
and
that way.
Alder Dorf is
Traffic.
Mike in company with you?
Yes, they are.
Okay, might as well take care of some paperwork here, so could I just get a name and an address? Mike?
Sure, it's Mike Dulplaise, DAUPLAISE,
Address?
2987 Durham Road.
Thank you. That'll save us time when we get to the item here shortly. And I also noticed Richard Perrins.
Yes, sir.
Which item will you be speaking of?
I want item 2,
Okay.
and we need an address, it's 1402 Kellogg. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome, Richard.
We have two parties to speak, Dave, is that?
Right.
Is it possible to, because for number 4, can you guys all hear us? Maybe Mike could start talking and Barb could start talking and, I don't know.
Can you hear okay?
Sure.
Why don't we do that? We can do it here, Dave.
I think the only issue we would have with that is that because we need to get a verbatim document, that you're not gonna actually hear what the actual commissioners are saying at this point in time.
unless you cluster around.
The only way is that if they designate me chair when I'm not an actual commissioner, so I don't think that would work.
Well, what could I do? Can I do something to, as a
You
chairman?
can still serve as translator, couldn't you?
I do that daily. I mean, unless you,
to be chair.
yeah, I mean, unless you wanted to sit next to me until we get this done.
I don't have any problem with that. I just want to,
I support that.
let's get it moving.
Do we need a motion on that?
I'll do that.
Why don't you come on over, man? Okay. I'll just,
No, I'm not letting my chair.
no, he's just.
Nice and cozy.
See, we can adapt.
All right. I know we're not in our COVID protocol here, but.
Yeah, stay 6 feet away from
No, sorry. All right, so we just want to continue like we're regular meeting, right? So, okay.
Yes, so,
Move to item 4 then.
correct.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 4, refer back from study. Refer to staff for the study to request Alder Dorf to review the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit on Church Road and reduce it to 35 miles per hour. Dave, you wanna start there, or Alder Dorf?
Yes, I think my report is gonna be short because I'm going to state.
Dave, you're gonna have to be right in front of your microphone, I think.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can't hear you at all.
Can you hear me?
It's better, but a little more right in the middle would be better.
All right. Here, I'll be the cameraman. How's that?
Okay.
All right. Feel like a news host here. Okay. So my report is simple. It's not done. So I cannot report on the recommendations at this point in time. It's close, but there's one major thing is I always bring these in front of our director before I bring them to committee, and our director is actually on vacation right now, deer hunting. So that's item 1. And item 2, the report really isn't done. So we've got 2 items there. However, I do, I have some information. If there's questions on things that were investigated or researched, I can certainly respond to that, but I do not have a staff recommendation at this time.
Well, would it be okay if I just give my 2 cents as a person who lives in that area?
Yes, but we'll need to open.
Yeah, I will hold on 1 second, we're gonna suspend the rules to allow you to speak, sir, so, entertain a motion to suspend the rules for interested parties to speak.
So moved.
Motion made, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you got their name and address, Dave?
I do.
Okay, go ahead then, sir, when you're ready.
All right, my wife Bonnie and I live just off of Church Road, 2 houses. And the concern, I guess, is that there's been a lot of houses built on Church Road over the last 2 years. And Church is a much narrower road than any of the other roads that kind of make up the block. So that would be Nicolay on the west, Scottwood Drive on the south, and Sussex on the east. And the Church being the northern boundary of kind of the Red Smith neighborhood. Church is exceedingly narrow. It's got about an 18-inch gravel shoulder, and the roadbed itself is, maybe it just gives the impression of being very narrow. But with mailboxes being on the north side and the houses on the south side of Church Road, there's just not a lot of room there, either for pedestrians, bikes, people who park their cars, anything like that. So it just, the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit on Church, which is higher than Nicolay and higher than Scottwood and higher than Sussex, just seems out of whack a little bit. And just concerned that the safety, as these houses continue to be built, the safety issue is becoming more and more an issue. So I would, land-based settlement is certainly getting more busy as well, but I would certainly urge the committee to consider dropping the speed limit from 40 to 35 if for no other reason than the amount of pedestrian traffic on Church Road is growing, and it's I don't even walk on there anymore because it's that scary to be on that road at those speeds. I take a different road.
Okay, thank you, sir. Did your wife wish to speak to that item? Covered it, okay, all right. I don't think we have anybody else to speak to that item, so, okay. Entertain a motion to go back to regular business?
I would maybe offer that the elder, she has an opinion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Alder Dorf.
Thank you. I still can hear Dave, but I assume that's what he said.
Yes, go ahead, Alder Dorf.
Thank you. I apologize to my constituents out here. I've been working on this for years. I told them that it would be done by now. I was sure it would be done by this meeting, since the study's been done several times before. I didn't think it would take much to do another study. I feel very invested in getting this down to 35. The main reason being that I always agreed with Dave in the past when he said, no, it should really stay at 40, because that was before those houses were built. And now it's a very, very different road. It's a different area. It's apologize to my constituents. I'm sure some of them will be watching this, some of them wanted to be on at 5:30, and were kind of trying to messenger me or text me, but what can I say? I guess we'll be back again December 20th, and hoping that we will have some answers from Dave and from the committee. And then it will still have to go to council, which won't be till January. So it's not going to happen right away. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alder Dorf. Dave, anything to add at this point? No, I pretty much said where you're at with it, so. I guess I would either, well, first of all, we should get back to regular business, so.
So moved.
Motion to go back to regular business, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're back to regular business. I guess we're looking at moving this item to December then? Dave, would that be fair enough to
I would say postpone it, yes.
postpone it until December? Okay.
December, I thought that was.
Well, typically we take December off, Alder Dorf, but this is not what you want to hear either. I see,
And you know, in a sense, it doesn't matter, because city council's not going to be after December 20th. So, whatever. Just remember that when you're voting, okay?
okay, thank you. Yeah, it's just a bad set of circumstances, this meeting tonight, and, you know, maybe it was apologize, and wish there was more we could do what Dave doesn't have, you know, it's not quite ready, so let's postpone it till January then. So, I hear a motion to postpone this item
Go
to
ahead.
January.
I make a motion to postpone item 4 until January.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made in second. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you, motion carries. Go back to general business, report by the Green Bay Police Department on the October Traffic Enforcement Unit Traffic Safety Plan.
I'll defer to Lieutenant Sylvia.
Okay, okay, go ahead, Lieutenant.
so they can hear.
Can you hear us okay over there, Mike?
I can hear over there, but so they can hear on my end.
Yeah. No, but, okay.
So,
Chair and
has everybody should have, this was included with the packet, did everybody get a chance to look at it? So what I've done is created a traffic safety plan that is a way that the police department can share with alders, citizens, police officers, anybody really, what the police department identifies as traffic safety concerns and what the police department is doing to address those concerns. It basically just goes through month by month. So we're in the month of November, so we're looking at the October 2021 crash data. And it just goes through the total amount of crashes, breaks it down between fatalities, hit and run accidents, property damage accidents, and injury accidents. Further breaks it down by days of the week. And then it goes into traffic stops by officers, not specifically the number of citations or warnings, but the overall traffic stops. And in October, Green Bay had 738 traffic stops. So officers are out doing traffic enforcement, even though a lot of times citizens don't see that. We are actively out stopping traffic and trying to make the streets safer for everybody. And then the next portion of the report is taken from community maps from the state based off of past crash data. And there's 5 hot spots, so to speak, that the software identifies as problem areas in the city for a selected date range. So every month, those areas are going to be for the upcoming month. So these highlighted areas are what the software identifies as problem areas for the month of November. So those are in the report. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then the last page has the most recent complaints we had within the last month, traffic complaints, as well as some semi-current speed board data. I say semi-current because some of them were a month or two old, so it's not everything from October. I had to pull from a little farther to get a little more data for those. So this helps people or officers that may be strapped on time to, we're giving them hotspot areas. These are the 5 areas. If you can't enforce traffic at any other areas, at least these 5 areas in this report, if you focus your efforts on those areas, it should reduce crashes. Or the citizen complaints. Here's this most current citizen complaints. Focus on those areas, or the speed board data. So we're trying to take the limited resources we have and put them in these areas where they can reduce accidents, fulfill the citizens' complaints, and use speed board data to show that, you know, these are the hotspot areas. This is where essentially you get your most bang for your buck for enforcement wise. So that's the plan in a nutshell. And every month a new plan will be brought to the commission for the current month, and it's also going to be added to the Green Bay Police Department's website for anybody to access.
So the general public can access where
Correct.
the spots are redeemed. The numbers are telling you the problematic areas, so, okay, that's good.
Question, are the hotspots being derived from the Community Maps website?
Correct. So the hotspots are based off of crash data, reportable crash data.
Is there particular flags that you're looking for? Because I know that under that website you can flag multiple
It's
criteria.
with no flags. It's just any reportable accident. But yeah, you're correct. You can do the certain flags, but for this report, I'm doing no flags at all, just reportable accidents.
Just pretty much all.
Thank you for putting this together. It's really great information.
You're welcome.
Any questions of the lieutenant? Anybody else?
I believe we had one person that wanted to talk on this item.
Okay, all right.
Motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules for interested parties to speak.
May I speak to this?
1 second, Richard.
Here, why don't you
So-
speak?
Okay.
Okay. Entertain a motion to suspend the rules for interested parties to speak.
So moved.
Motion been made, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, go ahead, Richard, you may speak.
Hi, actually, there are 2 parts to this. The first being, how do citizens put up a complaint so that it would be entered on this this safety plan that you just put up, sir? And then I want to speak to what's being done out of the ARP funds, or whatever, the American Rescue Funds, for the traffic areas. What has been put up to be purchased or used for the items that we could put in there? So those are the 2 issues that I'd like to see addressed. Number 1, I've called multiple times, and I don't know if my complaints are being registered correctly.
Okay.
And if I really wanted to complain, I'd complain at least 5 times a day on the street I live on. And I don't know if that's worthwhile, or if I just become a noisy tin can. I really don't want to be that either.
So we get the complaints from 2 different ways. The officers can add the complaints to our reporting program, what we call GURP. In the second way, so officers import complaints, whether they talk to citizens, get phone calls, emails. That's one way that they can put them. The other way we get the complaints is through the city's request for services website. So any of those complaints that are flagged for traffic get added to this as well. So
So how would I contact an officer or email them? I mean, it would be nice if this was laid out on your site or some site,
Yeah.
how the citizen can actually just access this.
And part of that, our website for the traffic enforcement unit is outdated. And part of this safety plan is to have that updated. So it is in
Very
the
good.
works to update that, so it's more current and relevant and easier for people to access. So
Who would I call?
the traffic enforcement unit has a phone number. And
Okay,
so that,
all right.
that's going to be included on there as well as your email, as well as the request for services website from the city.
Okay,
So all three of those will be on the website. Like I said, it's in the process of being updated, it just hasn't been updated yet.
very good. Thank you, that helps me on that first question.
And for the second question, the ARPA funds, those, we have a list of unfunded needs that the police department has. And with that, speed boards are one of the items that are on our list of things that we'd like to get more of. Moving radar units, we got a donation. We're doing more, or we got a donation to install 5 more units in our squad cars for technology-wise, so we can get some better equipment. Laser units for traffic enforcement, we're getting more units of that. So we're spending more on technology that can help the officers stop some of the problems. I think one of the other things.
Are you going to put out a list, are you going to put out a list of what exactly, I mean, you're purchasing, and I had sent in some.
Yep, and I
pulled some information off about different types of speed boards and things like that.
Mhm.
I left them at the police department attention, Captain Allen, I believe, but I subsequently emailed you and
Yep.
asked if you could check in with him about those issues.
Yep, and I've got
Those
that.
items.
I've got
Very
that,
good.
and I'm looking at it yet.
Okay.
With the speed boards, I agree, it's a good tool. One of the things we're looking at is getting a trailer and a solar powered unit, so we can use these units in the wintertime, because the ones we currently have are limited by battery life.
Right.
So as soon as it gets cold out, the battery life drains significantly. So we are looking for ways that we can improve our enforcement efforts by using technology. Some of the things I think are more on the engineering side, like the feasibility of using rumble strips. I know that was included with your packet,
Right.
and that would be something that I'd have to direct to city engineering on.
That would be a last ditch effort. I would not want to impose that on my neighbors or myself. But at the same time, you know, we've got to get a sense of civility back into our neighborhoods. And racing up and down the streets is not what I think ought to happen. So I appreciate very much that you have looked at those things and are moving forward to. There are some good pieces of equipment out there where you can warn people. I don't know if you can put up your own message, but you know, if someone was 15 miles over, I'd love to see it pop up as really, yeah,
Yeah.
or you know, just yeah. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. That answers my question.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Any other comments for the lieutenant? Not entertain a
Alder
motion.
Garlock.
Alder Gerlach, yes, go ahead.
I would just like to say something to Richard. I want you to know that I am happy to help any citizen learn how to use the city website to report a concern. I push that all the time because it's open 24/7. And you don't have to wait for someone to answer the phone. You're not interrupting anybody who's doing their work. And it's so easy. I will walk you through it on the phone. If you are interested, I'll help anybody learn how to use it. Just wanted you to know that.
Thank you, Lynn. It should be easily understood and not have to go to you for it. So,
Okay. Some
Thank you.
people don't say that.
thank you.
Okay, let's go back to regular business. Entertain a motion to go back to.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we're back to regular business. Thank you, Lieutenant. You want to receive and place that on file? Okay.
That would be appropriate.
Your motion to receive and place Lieutenant Soviak's report on file?
I make a motion to receive and place Lieutenant Soviak's motion on file.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We're on to item 3, initial request, consideration of possible action On request by Alder Gerlach to establish a no parking zone on the west side of, probably gonna butcher this one, Fazania Street, on the sidewalk connecting the street with East Town Mall to Sun Terrace. Dave, gonna start there, or Alder Gerlach?
Let's start with the Alder.
Dave could probably take care of it.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I mean, I know I had put a summary into the agenda packet on it, but predominantly what's going on out there is a mailbox kiosk that's on the west side of the north end of that roadway. There is a relatively new condo complex. I believe there's 4 condos in it. And the driveway is in essence an extension of Sun Terrace. So what's happening is there's an area between that driveway and the catwalk or cross, or I guess you'd just say connector route sidewalk between East Town Mall and Fanazia Street. So in looking at that, we normally do not just out of, just generally just start putting up no parking between sign zones all over the place. If that was the case relative to mailbox blockages, we'd have signs all over the place. So what we try to do is try to work them out through multiple different ways. But sometimes you also find that there may be multiple things you're trying to correct as well. So when I looked at this, even if the mailbox kiosk isn't there, I think what you have is a potential safety issue with people using that connector route between the mall and the street. And if a car's parked there, I just don't think it's a good idea. And oftentimes they probably would be parked within the 4 feet, which is actually a regulation. That's the longstanding regulation in our city. So I think we would be using the phrase killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I think we could probably achieve that with a short no parking here to corner zone that would be just north of that connector sidewalk and to the northern terminus of Fanazia Street. That should cure the issue. I do know, and I want to just make sure, since Alder, you're online with us, you had made mention, or maybe it was your constituent directly about, I think it must have been Sun Terrace, maybe the north end as well. I want to be real clear on this. I think that we really have 2 separate issues going on. When I looked at that one to me is a really easy one to take care of. If anyone parks in that area, there's already 2 ordinances on in our Muni code that would address that. Number 1, there's a fire hydrant there. You can't park next to a fire hydrant, and the space is so smaller that you would not even be able to fit even a smart vehicle or a motorcycle in there. And number 2, technically, our parking enforcement staff could cite them for obstruction of a driveway. So there's actually 2 ordinances that would be relevant to this particular item on that. And I've already alerted our parking staff to that, and I'm presuming that the issue, if it's not gone away by now, it will be shortly. So I just wanted to address that secondary issue that was brought up on that. And I guess I wasn't really clear on when we had that exchange, because I thought I somewhat addressed that in the initial response, but I don't know if that was necessarily clear. But I can guarantee you that our parking staff has given me the thumbs up that they're putting it on their enforcement list. And anytime we enact new parking laws and regulations and zones, it's standard practice that I also advise them to go on an enforcement effort in order to gain compliance. It's a new regulation, and not everyone's going to know about it and all of that. So we'll put up the signs. If indeed the traffic commission agrees tonight, the signs would go up then on a 90-day trial. So that's all I have.
Can I just tell you a few things to the commission?
Certainly. Go right ahead, Alder.
Normally, I'm just really interested in just the ordinance and doing, I want you to know that this constituent is a native of Green Bay. She's a senior citizen. She walks with a walker. She and her husband just sold their house in Arizona. They both back to Green Bay, and 3 weeks after they got here, her husband passed away. She bought this condo. If you go there, it looks like a really nice neighborhood. It really looks pleasant. And she has had nothing but trouble. She just emailed me today and said, somebody's parked in front of my driveway, blocking my driveway again, and I called about it. And, you know, are you talking, Dave, where Sun Terrace and Fazianas come together, that's where the fire hydrant is?
Correct.
Someone parks there all the time, and it's their next door neighbor. I mean, she knows who it is. This woman and her neighbors have had to, even if the mail's been successfully delivered, people park in front of those mailboxes and they have to shimmy in between the mailbox and the car parked to get their mail. And this woman walks with a walker. It just makes me furious. She's having problems with garbage. They can't pull their garbage out there too. And they don't even have room for their garbage cans because there are 4 condos. So I've asked for her to have a permit to have her garbage picked up in front of her garage. But there's litter all over. She just emailed me today and said there's a curb on the terrace down the street. And so anything to help this poor woman. This is just, it's just untenable. She says, I'm give up, I'll just get out of here. I wish I would come back to Green Bay, and I'm just determined to make things work for her. So please do whatever you can, not only to make sure that there's a no parking zone, but to enforce it and enforce it and enforce it until those people learn they can't park there. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Alder Gerlach.
Move approval.
Motion been made to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we need to do the numbers. Informational. Meet and greet with Police Chief Christopher Davis. You're on. Thank you for persevering with us tonight.
Did you want to join me at the table?
Sure.
I'm gonna have to turn my laptop around. You get the same seat as Lieutenant Sobey.
I'm Commissioner, or Chairman Keepers. I don't know if you've met. I don't know, we have not met. I know you probably don't recognize Dave.
We've met.
I've been at PD a couple times. I think we've crossed paths.
And I know some of these folks on the Zoom screen here, high holders.
So, I don't know, there's Commissioner Melissa Fluke, who's been with us a few months. Dan Dino, been quite a few years. And then Alder Stevens, who's the council representative to that. And then
we also have Kasha.
And Kasha Hudkowski, who's virtually.
Hello.
I can't think of
Patrick Sorrell is the one excused or absent Alder, I should say. Commissioner.
I can't think of your first name, I'm sorry. In the city. And the Miller guy behind you there. So.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Been a good member, so well, welcome. It's nice to put faces together and take a little bit out of your time. Sorry, it didn't quite work out as smoothly as we would all like, whatever. Because usually our meetings are 15 minutes to a half hour. We're audio unless we got a hot button item, but for the most part they go pretty fast. So I would just say, I've been doing this for a few years as a chairman, been on this committee, and one of the things we hear constantly, I know Mike has heard this over and over, is speeding is an issue in the city, whether it's probably, I don't know if it's the biggest issue in the city or whatever, and I know going back, probably more than a few years or whatever, the traffic unit is kind of got downsized. Now it's up to, I think it's up to 4 an hour or whatever, and I think it was, when Carl was here, Carl and Lieutenant, going back a few years, I think it was more than that or whatever. So I guess from the commission, everybody else can have a little bit of that, throw some stuff at you, but that's the one thing I would throw at you is, that's the constant when we hear meeting after meeting, for the most part, people speeding in the city, how do we get under control? You heard it from Richard Behrens, who's been on at the meetings occasionally or whatever. It's just an issue, so I don't know what resources, you only have so many resources in the city. to do it, but that would be the one thing I would advocate for and address that. I know Mike has done as much as he can with that. But I think a good thing he had tonight was kind of identifying the areas for your officers if they have extra time, which most of them probably don't have a lot of extra time. There's a lot of things going on in the city, but that would be my 2 cents worth for what I would share. I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to share with the chief here tonight.
Yeah, I would just echo what the chairman just said. I was a neighborhood association president on the east side for 11 years, and I served 3 years as the chair of the Green Bay Neighborhood Organization, which is the umbrella organization for the 41 neighborhoods in the city. And I can tell you that speeding is the #1 complaint we hear from neighborhood presidents. I live in a neighborhood that's sandwiched between Mason and Main, and 3 o'clock, between 3 and 5 every day, my street is used as a shortcut between those 2 major thoroughfares. And it's really a very serious problem in the city. I know you have limited resources and you're trying to work on the problem, but to me, that is the #1 problem coming out of the neighborhoods, not just my neighborhood.
We just lost our Zoom.
Did we really?
Says the meeting has been ended by the host.
Cool. What did you do?
There's a lot of information on here. It's like Chinese. I don't know what happened here. Oh boy.
Getting hacked.
All done, your account was set up successfully.
Cool, that's a good.
Oh, this is the mail thing I was asking you about before. So that's just inbox. Let's just make sure that, it did say Zoom meeting ended though.
Yeah. The meeting has been ended by the host.
Well, we do have this.
They're still live yet.
Right, and there's no more action items too, so I mean, I guess the only thing can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Couple things or?
Dan's
That's,
a man of many words, so are you done, Dan? or-
I'll cut it off there.
I'll
3
add
minutes. Go
something
ahead.
real quick.
Yeah.
My passion, and I think another area besides speeding and traffic, is running, biking, safety. And there's a lot of great trails around here, East River Trail, Fox River Trail. I love those. But there are still some streets, that aren't super bike friendly or super running friendly. So that's my 2 cents to add. And just like any city, I mean, it's definitely improved. I grew up here, and it's improving, but there's still some areas that could be even better.
Well, regarding me, obviously I'm not a commissioner, I'm more the technical representative and staff representative for Public Works. So Mike and I basically hear the same thing, but we just have to approach it differently. So I'll echo everything that everyone is saying in this room, that is probably the #1 complaint that we get. I've been here since 2006, and this is something I recognize right away. And it has gotten progressively worse. I don't know if it's just the population's gone up. I don't know if it's, we have less and less licensed drivers. I don't know what it is. It's very behavioral associated, because there's a lot of areas that we look at from an engineering perspective, and it's like everything's up to snuff. What? So, and oftentimes what happens is, we have to work in the education realm, the enforcement realm, and the engineering realm. And sometimes, what I've learned is that you really can't just do it with enforcement alone. You can't do it with educational campaigns alone. And you certainly can't do it with engineering applications all the time either. It always seems to be this trifecta that seems to be, at least where I've seen the success stories. So I'm willing to work as much as anyone else, if not more. It's my life passion, is doing this, is solving these problems. But getting back to about 2 years after I started, I finally convinced our director at the time, Carl Weber, that we need to have a neighborhood traffic calming policy. And this was something that people could, it's kind of like a complaint form, but it's more of a, hey, we've tried to do some things here over the years, or it's a problem that's just coming up, maybe there's a new development, who knows. We're just trying to solve these problems. And actually put in a request to see if they're eligible, if their street is eligible for traffic calming measures. So very similar to, like we were talking about this Church Road study tonight, that we have equipment. I mean, it's different than what Mike has. Mike has what I would consider more of an enforcement tool. So sometimes the numbers you get from them may vary from what I get. But we use more, we just use different tools to get it. And we'll find out if these locations qualify or not. And if they do, they can progress along into this program. So over the years, I mean, we've seen dozens and dozens of requests. I can honestly say we have never gotten to the point of actually ripping up a road or putting in actual speed humps. Not that we haven't put in speed bumps or speed humps. We have through other projects. And, you know, let's just say like in the University Avenue Festival Foods area, I mean, there's a lot of roadway redesign that happened, and we ended up putting in some speed tables where we thought that there was going to be some cut-through traffic based off of this significant change. We just reinstalled some over on Farland Avenue, and in my opinion, they work. I just actually did an A/B comparison between, literally they're just blocks away. And I did the calm version of it, and I did the uncalm version. They were about 10 miles an hour different. And 85th percentile speed, that's huge. That's huge in my opinion.
Sure. Well, every 10 miles an hour of speed you go up, you double the kinetic energy of a car, right? So
Then your deaths go up, and then serious injuries go up, correct. So in a way, I wish that more of it would happen, but it just hasn't. Either these projects, I don't want to say they don't fall off the radar. They get done, but a lot of them don't meet the criteria. So, you know, and some of them are pretty close. Our criteria is 32 miles an hour for 85th percentile and 35 miles an hour for 95th percentile speeds. So if they exceed that, after enforcement efforts have happened, after educational efforts have happened, then you can go to that next step. We've never gotten that. I've done some trials. I did a faux, not a roundabout, but a traffic circle. We did that as a test at one location, and actually we didn't find speeds change mid-block. But that one, that was in Roosevelt Street, just south of Mason Street. Other than that, it's usually just a matter of it's enforcement. Sometimes there's signing changes that we do. We'll look at it. We may be adding speed limit signs, tweaking things up. You know, we've done that before. And I think to an effect. I mean, one of the things that we've used as an engineering tool, and we continue to in our newer designs, is narrowing up traffic lanes. And traffic lanes are, you know, we've documented it that the narrower lanes, as long as it's not a truck route, actually do have an effect on slowing down speeds. So, at least from an engineering perspective, I can say I'm a partner, and I'm definitely willing to continue that.
great.
Any other comments for the chief tonight? We'll jump pretty easy tonight, so.
Wow, yeah.
But I just want to comment, on additional comment, I appreciate you taking an interest in coming out there. Because I've been on the committee for more than a couple of years. It's the first time we've had a new police chief come and sit in our meeting. So thank you for listening. And
Yeah, thank you.
whatever we can do to, as a commission, help the police department, we're all about that, so.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think, you know, I have a little bit of a background in traffic safety, and particularly with regard to vulnerable road users, and you know, worked with traffic engineering before I was a lieutenant in Portland's traffic division for a while, and dealt with a lot of the same issues, just on a little different scale. A lot of the same traffic calming efforts, so that's not new to me. You know, different road profiles than maybe what we're used to that actually move traffic better, I know you're aware of, and also enhance bike safety. I was a little surprised. I guess one of the things coming here, I realized I've been a little spoiled with really bike-friendly.
Portland's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. But you know, with regard to resources for traffic enforcement, that's, you know, obviously, we're pulled in a lot of directions in the police department right now. We have a lot of pressing public safety issues, including this one, that we need to be as efficient as we can with our resources with. And that's one of the reasons why Mike came up with our traffic safety plan that he described, just to give us some areas to focus. Because if I just tell patrol officers, hey, go do traffic enforcement when you have time, that's not going to be as effective as, okay, here's the 5 most dangerous intersections in the city and the behaviors that we're seeing that cause crashes there, or here is where we're getting a lot of complaints about speed violations.
Can I ask a question on those 5 locations?
Sure.
What exactly are you going to be looking for enforcement? Is it just speed?
I think at those, and Mike can talk more about specifics.
It would be any traffic violation in those areas. I think just mere presence in that area is a change driving behavior. So if we can have presence and do any traffic violation in that area, I think is going to have an impact.
Red light running?
Red lights,
Yes.
speed, yeah, any kind of traffic control devices.
I can tell you from looking at a lot of crash reports, especially in the last decade, I'm seeing a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Failure to yield right away as a probable cause.
Yeah, and those are your most dangerous crashes, right? Those intersection collisions and speed-related collisions. And then, again, when it comes to vulnerable road users, failing to yield to pedestrians in crosswalks, bike lane violations, the people that will drive in the bike lanes to go around cars waiting to turn left, that kind of thing. But the upshot of all this is that we want to focus our limited resources, as Mike said, on the things that will get us the biggest return for investment in terms of actually keeping people safe. And we're fortunate in this city that despite the fact that we do, I see it myself, I see some alarming driving behavior in this town, so I believe it exists. But despite that fact, we're pretty lucky that our traffic fatality rates, as I understand it, are lower than the average for cities this size. I would like to keep it that way, and I don't mind reducing it further. And then the last thing I will say is when it comes to neighborhood speed complaints, I know that gets frustrating for people because they'll make a complaint and they don't see us. And there could be a few reasons why that is. One is obviously we get a lot of complaints, and managing that volume of complaints is hard with limited resources. The other is, though, that sometimes I think we could do a better job of feedback to people when they make a complaint. And so I've asked our operations folks to look at ways that we can maybe enhance that feedback loop to people so that they can go online someplace and just see the status of their complaint. And on our end, we can enter data about, hey, I went out and sat at this intersection for 45 minutes on Tuesday. Because if you don't see us, the inference is that we weren't there at all, right? And we may have been, you might have just missed us. And then also, the speed reader boards that collect speed data, because we know from sometimes when we put one of those data collection devices in a place where we're getting a lot of complaints, we actually don't see as much actionable speed violation as the perception is. And, it is still true that while I certainly respect anybody in our community who calls about a speeding complaint, our officers need to have a legit reason to pull people over and take enforcement action. And so, we want to make sure that that we're actually having the problem that we think we have, because sometimes what we find is, and with the reader board, it's a little harder because you never quite know if it's the reader board that's actually having its intended effect and you're seeing fewer speed violations. But at any rate, for me, again, the bottom line is I'm all in when it comes to traffic safety. I definitely recognize the importance of traffic safety.
I think one of the things we hear is perception. people think somebody's going X amount of miles an hour, and reality, kind of what you're alluding to there, it's
Right.
not really going as fast as what they think they're going, or whatever, it's just.
Yeah.
and that's-
Kind of.
But even that feedback, just giving them that feedback, we're doing something to address their issue instead of just it going off into the ether.
Like Mike said, you're enhancing the website, which I didn't realize you had a site where people can go in and report it, but you also see what's going on. I think, that is a good educational tool to get out to the masses or whatever, so people know that there's a spot you can go and report it, and you can see what's happening in the city. I think that's a great tool that you're working on, so.
Yeah, oftentimes you'll find it's just gonna be a very small percentage of them, and we just had that one I sent you on, and it really wasn't bad. The numbers are pretty favorable, but you see some outliers, and it's those outliers in it, there's some residents that'll be more sensitive than others, and they know exactly who it is. It's some neighbor that's 2 blocks away, and at 4:30 every morning, he's got his motorcycle, and it's going 24 miles an hour, but it's loud as,
Right.
And sometimes it is that, and we find those as well. But then there really are some documented serious problems on certain streets. And to me, those are always the most challenging, but the most satisfying once you can resolve them.
Right. And that's where I want to focus our efforts, is places like that.
Let me add one thing. A couple of years ago, we had a person going up my street about 60 miles an hour every day, and he was rushing to work. And I contacted the police department. Well, what I did is I took a photo, I followed him, took a photo of his license plate, and sent it to my community police officer. And he got back to me and he said, "Oh yeah, we know that guy. He's got 20 warrants out for violations of speeding." So it's not only an enforcement issue, but what about the court system? Is the court system putting priority on getting somebody that has 20 warrants out for failure to pay fines? That's the other foot that needs to drop. And I'm not sure if that's the county judicial system or where the problem is, but you shouldn't have somebody with 20 warrants driving around the city of Green Bay.
Well, we can arrest people on warrants, and that's certainly something that, we would be willing to do in that situation. If we know where somebody is with a warrant, the warrant is an order from the judge for us to go take them into custody, so we can certainly help with that. Just there are some people who don't get the message despite our best
That's
efforts.
the problem. Dan was saying, you arrest them, okay, you're out. How long, they're gonna do the same thing again, even though they don't have a valid license and
Yeah,
operating out from revocation. How do you stop that? I mean, it's
right.
kind of an education thing,
Well,
trying to
so-
get through to them, and not there, it's just not happening.
Dan hit it on the head. It's a judicial system thing. He can enforce all he wants, we can engineer all we want, but if at the end of the day, this person just gets out and violates again, what have we solved?
So you shoot
We have to get them off the street then.
So you shoot to solve the problem for the majority of people, right? And these select ones, something else has happened.
If we've got cases like that, though, we don't have a municipal traffic court, do we?
Yeah.
Green Bay does.
Well, it's just
Green Bay?
community court, they take on traffic, yes.
Okay.
You sit in on that, don't you? I was at the lieutenant traffic.
All right, any other questions of the chief? If not, like I said, thank you for stopping by
Sure.
tonight, and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Stop in again.
Sure.
Okay.
And don't hesitate to reach out, too, if there's
Okay.
anything.
Mike's pretty good liaison, so
Yeah,
he hears it, so he knows what's going on.
yeah, well, I have already, in the 2 months that I've been here, really come to appreciate Mike's work and his, we definitely have the right guy for the job there. So
He's a good
committed to the work.
advocate for our committee, so.
Don't tell him I said that. but-
Put the earplugs in, Mike, so, appreciate it. Information next for the next meeting, Monday, December 20th. Typically, Melissa mentioned to you, we don't usually have a December meeting, so I think we usually leave it open, Dave, if we get a hot button item that needs to be done.
Okay.
we will have a meeting, but typically we don't push it off till January.
And
so-
historically, I've been taking a week off of Christmas too.
So we will plan that way in pencil for this, for January, or I'm sorry, for December, and
Got it.
hopefully not, so. but, And you usually put out something too, don't you send me an email, like,
We usually, we connect in early December. to find
make a
out.
decision not to have it, so. All right, with that, next time we entertain a motion to adjourn for the night.
Move to
Ready to adjourn yet?
Second.
Motion made second, all in favor? We're adjourned, so everybody have a happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.